Good day everyone. My name is Orlando Alexandrino. I am from Petra Christian University, majoring in International Business Management. In this video, I am going to share about my personality and what I am going to do in the future with my life. In order to know more about my personality, I am going to use this action learning framework, which is consists of what, why, how, who, when, where, and how much. In what, I'm going to discuss more about what I need to do in order to know more about my personality, and in why, I'm going to discuss more about why I need to know about my personality, and in how, I need to know how is my plan, and who are the supporters, and when is the plan going to be implemented. And the next is where it can go right and where it can go wrong. And the last is how much. In how much, I'm going to discuss about how much I improve in order to achieve my goals. And now let's start with what. In what, I'm going to use an organizational, team, and individual framework. In organizational, I'm going to use leadership self-assessment. In team, I'm going to use Belbin's 9 team roles. And in individual, I'm going to use Big 5 personality test, CAT test, and learning style test. And now let's move on to the first test, which is learning style test. In this test, it will define what type of learner I am. And the result is I am a pragmatist. It is also show that I also almost balance in theorist, reflector, and also activist, which is it is a good sign because I can adapt with any kind of learning style. And now let's go deeper with the pragmatists. This typical of pragmatists, they really like to see how things work in practice. They also enjoy experimenting with new ideas. They also practical, down to earth, and like to solve the problems. Basically, pragmatist typical is they really like to see the relevance of their work. They gain their practical advantage from learning. They are credible role models, proven techniques, as well as activities to be real. And now let's move on to the technopreneurship GET test, which is to know what type of technopreneur I am. In here, I'm going to choose the top 3, which is the highest is drive and determination, and the second need for autonomy, and the last is need for achievement. And I will discuss it one by one. For the drive and determination, it means that I really like to take advantage of new opportunity, and I don't believe in fate, and I am self-confident. And for the need for autonomy, it means that I really like to doing unconventional thing. I really like to make up with my mind, and I need to express what I'm thinking about. And the last is need for achievement. It means that I'm a forward-looking, I'm self-sufficiency, I'm optimistic, and I'm a result-oriented. And now let's move on to the Big 5 personality test. This test is to know about my personality deeper. In here, I'm going to choose the top 2 highest, which is agreeableness and the conscientiousness. Agreeableness means not offensive, which is I got 25 point out of 40. And for the conscientiousness, it means that I'm a high diligence, which is I got 25 out of 40. And I will discuss it one by one. For agreeableness, it means that they reflect much individual adjust their behavior to suit with the others. It means that I'm a typically polite and really like with people. For the conscientiousness, means that the personality trait of being honest and hardworking. And in here, I'm tend to be following the rules and prefer to clean homes. Now let's move on to the Belbin's 9 team role test. In this test, it will explain on what are my roles in a team. In this test, I will choose the top 3 highest score, which are the implementer. It means that I am tends to be disciplined, reliable, conservative, efficient, and this typical of people usually turns the ideas into practical actions. I also have a good score in a team worker, which means that I'm a good at working in a team, and this typical of people are cooperative, mild, perceptive, diplomatic, and calm the waters. And the last is completer finisher, which means that this typical of people is painstaking, anxious, searches out the errors and omissions. From this test, it shows that I'm more to be the social-oriented role when I'm working in a team. And now let's move on to the leadership self-assessment test. In this test, I will define what type of leadership that I had. And now I'm going to choose the top 3 highest score, which are: the first is setting direction, which means that I'm good at setting the direction when I'm working in a team. I also got a high score in communicating, which means that I also good at communicating with the other in order to organize the organization. And the last is negotiating, which means that I'm a good negotiating with the other people in order to get something or to achieve something. And the last part of the self-assessment test is what are the most important attributes that going to help me to develop my weakness as well as to strengthen my strength in order to achieve my goals or my dream in the future. The possible attributes that might be help me to achieving my goals are: first is caring, the second is dedicated, the third is diplomatic, and the last is persistent. This 4 point is connected with each other. In order to achieve my goal, I have to carry these 4 points. After knowing what I need to do to know more about my personality, now let's move on to the why I need to know about my personality. In this section, I will explain my future plan that is fit with my personality, and I'm going to use 5 whys to explain about my plan. And the first why is, why do I need to know about my personality? And the answer will be to know and understand more my strength and weakness, also to ensure proper learning style in order to achieve my goal. And the second why would be, why do I need to know my learning style? And the answer would be to gain new knowledge and to improve my skill. And the third why is, why do I need to know my entrepreneur skill? And the answer will be to know deeply about my entrepreneur character that I have and to know what I need to improve in order to achieve the goal. The fourth why is, do I need to know my team role? And the answer will be to know my best role in the organization. And the last why is, why do I need to know my leadership style? And the answer will be to know what type of leadership that I have and to know more what are the traits that need to improve in the future in order to achieve my goals. After knowing about why I need to know more about my personality, now I will explain on how is the plan and who are the supporter and when it will be implemented. And now starting with how. In how, I'm going to use input process output framework. And it can be seen from the framework that the input to achieve the goal is by planning what I need to do in the future and understand my individual competence. For the process will be a continuous learning, which means that after I finish my bachelor degree, I will continue my study abroad. And the output after finishing the master degree, I will target myself to be a chief marketing officer in multinational company. In order to achieve my output, I need to make sure that those processes will run well by controlling and monitoring them using the 3 KPIs, which are achievement, salary, and position. And now let's move on to the who are the supporters. The first of all, of course, our professors, who will support and guide us to our goals. And the next is friends, And the next is family and lecturers. And now let's move on to the when is the plan going to be implemented. In here, I'm going to target myself for the 1 year after graduate from IBM Petra. I will continue my study and take master's degree in Singapore. And for the 3 years after graduation, I'm going to working in multinational company as a marketing communication. And for the 6 years, I will become a marketing manager in that multinational company. And after 10 years, I'm target myself to become the chief marketing officer in one of the multinational company. After discussing about how, who, and when, I will continue to where. In this section, I will explain where the plan can go right or maybe it can be go wrong. And my competencies will be explained by using the 5 steps of self-development framework. Actually, for the current competencies, I still receiving new lessons and knowledge from my university. Even I'm still in a young age and never enter in the real business world, but I need to know that every plan might go right or maybe go wrong. In self-development framework, from initial competence to enhanced competence, need to through those 5 steps, which are insight, motivation, new knowledge, and skills. In real-world application and accountability. In the real business world, one of those processes could go wrong, and the biggest possible that one of them could go wrong is in real-world application. Because in fact that the theory and the real application in the real business world probably contrary to the reality. In order to avoid that, I need to have a contingent plan, so the plan that I already set can run smoothly. And now let's move on how much. In this final section, I will explain on how much I have learned and how much I have improved from my study. And I will use key performance index framework in order to evaluate and know from what I want to be to what I have achieved for continuous improvement. By using KPIs diagram, I will know that I have achieved and to know whether what I have achieved already corresponding with the target that I already set. And the last part is the conclusion. To conclude this presentation, I will use onion diagram and the 6 thinking hats and explain what I have learned during my study in IBM Petra. Each layer of the onion diagram will reflect the lateral thinking that I have to remember in the process for achieving my goal. For the first layer will be the red, which represents stamina. Stamina and patience is very essential to achieve the goals. It acts as the fuel for the author to always move forward. And the next layer is yellow, which represents communicate. The author's goals need to be communicated so it can be evaluated by the other people. And the next layer will be white, which represents expert. The author needs to aware of his condition and should not be overconfident. And the next layer will be green, which represents adaptive. It means that the author needs to be creative to adapt with any kind of environment. And the next is black, which represents response. The author must calculate the risk carefully before they making a decision, and most importantly, the author have to a contingent plan. Then the last is the blue, which is execution. Finally, the most important of all is execution. If the plan is not well executed, the author will not be able to achieve his plan. That's all about my personality and my future plan analyzed by Action Learning Framework, which is developed by Professor Dr. Casey Chan. And thank you for watching. Have a good day.